At this time, I'd like to call the City of Taft Planning Commission meeting to order. This is a regularly scheduled meeting. Today is Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022. We're meeting in City Hall Council Chamber at 209 East Kern Street, Taft, California, 93268. The City of Taft Planning Commission meetings are being held in person with full capacity seating and are live streamed at https://www.youtube.com/user/City of Taft. Public comments can be made in person and also can be received per the following. Written comments may be dropped off in the drop box in front of City Hall. Comments may be emailed to the city clerk at ymayfield@cityoftaft.org, made by phone to the city clerk's office at 661-763-1222. Public comments not made in person will be accepted up until 1 hour before the meeting. Any comments received will be read into the record. Our regular meeting is commencing at 5 p.m., and I would like to have you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Bob, can you lead us?
Certainly. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time, please remain standing for the invocation.
Lord, we love you today. We're so thankful, God, for your blessings upon our city. We just pray today, Lord, with all the decisions that are going to be made for this commission, we just pray that your anointing and that your covering would be over it. Lord, we pray it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor McDaniel. Okay, that moves us to our next item, which is the roll call.
Chairman Oren.
Here.
Vice Chair Livingston.
Here.
Commissioner Dowden.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Lycum.
I am here.
Great. Item number 1 is citizens' request / public comments. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the commission on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the commission from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. Commission may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit comments to 5 minutes. And I see that we have no one wishing to speak this evening, so item 1 is dispensed with. Item number 2 is the minutes for the July 6th, 2022 regular meeting. We have a recommendation that we approve them as submitted.
So moved.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Well, this will be a roll call vote with Mr. Lycum abstaining because he was not present, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Lycum. Abstaining. Vice Chair Livingston.
Yes.
Commissioner Dowden.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Oren.
Yes. Okay, that moves us to item 3, which is a Planning Commission review. A general plan amendment number 2021-05 and zoning ordinance amendment number 2021-06, downtown Taft specific plan and zoning ordinance amendment to accelerate housing production. Mr. Staples, you have a recommendation.
Thank you, Chairman Oren. This is an information item only, but we are getting to the end of this process for creating this downtown Taft specific plan and doing numerous amendments to the zoning ordinance, all mostly housing focused, but the specific plan does cover commercial and other uses in that area as well. Today, I will be going over a brief presentation just to highlight what the document looks like and what it covers, because we've been doing kind of all the piecemeal things of what we're preferring as far as densities and heights and residential and commercial and all that. So I'll go over that quickly, and I apologize for the mistaken date of April 6th, 2022. It is August 3rd, 2022. We can go through some questions as we go through this. And the full document is available to everyone. It is on the city website, and I'll go over that now. So with the downtown Taft specific plan and zoning ordinance amendment, last Thursday we publicly noticed that we've issued the formal name of notice of intent to adopt a mitigated negative declaration. That was published last Thursday on July 28th. This includes the project CEQA document, the initial study and mitigated negative declaration with traffic studies, and we have transmitted those to the state clearinghouse for review by the state agencies. The city did complete their what's called the tribal consultation process with no comments. And the noticing period and review period for these documents is Friday, July 29th, 2022 till Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. We added a couple days coming out of the weekend, which makes it a little bit more than a typical 30 days, but there's nothing against that to add a day or two for providing more comment period time. And then any comments and questions people have regarding it do need to be directed to me. And the only way to file comments like that is I do need them in writing in some way. An email is fine. A handwritten letter and something typed out and submitted here at City Hall is fine. But any verbal or conversational comments I receive will not be taken in. Everything has to be written and transmitted to me in some form. So on the draft downtown specific plan, the complete draft, as I mentioned, is included with this draft CEQA documents. A hard copy is in the front lobby at City Hall. I've provided the two links, which are on various forms where the city website has all the sections of the CEQA document, the draft specific plan, and zoning documents. And it's also on that other third-party site that we created for the project, so people can go back and look at the workshop materials, and if they've missed anything or I thought we covered this, they could go back to some of that stuff that was recorded. Stuff that doesn't have a YouTube video, there is a summary form of the topics covered during those workshops. So not to go into some of the details of it, but the specific plan is broken up into 8 sections with 2 appendices. It goes from an introduction, vision, themes, goals, and policies, to land use, to design guidelines, including mobility, parks and open space, infrastructure, and then an implementation administration plan. For those of you that were curious about some of the numbers we crunched, or the consultant crunched regarding the affordability or what it would take to develop a certain size project. The tables of the pro forma analysis are in Appendix A, so you can look at the assumptions for rents and what the land cost would have been and the generalized cost per square foot to build a conceptual, both the townhouse and the apartment conceptual developments that they showed at the workshops. That's what it's based on, and you'll see the unit counts and all that there. And then Appendix B is just a general support document for definitions of some of the terms used in the specific plan document. Simply put, for chapters 1 and 2 with the introduction, vision, themes, goals, and policies, it's just as it describes. The introduction outlines the purpose of the project in the document, along with the objectives that are stated to be achieved. Includes the overall project description, background project efforts, location and size of project area, along with its relationship with other adopted city documents. It outlines the project's vision and themes, which are the 4 that we've been talking about in the workshops: strong economy, sustainable development, active community, and community character. And it sets the goals and policies for each of those 4 themes. Chapter 3 for land use, it outlines the downtown Taft land use plan. It maintains much of the same existing mixed use allowed land uses, to allow for the most flexibility. The residential densities have been varied from block to block, with the most intense densities in the central area referred to as the downtown core. In general, I'll state that even though some things maybe have been kind of tuned down density-wise and others have been tuned up, we actually did gain a couple hundred units when you just do the basic math of max intensity per acre, which would increase the population in the area, and that is something that's turned out to be in effect to address with mitigation in the environmental document. So I'd advise people to look there to see what those numbers are and what we've come up with on the mitigation. But generally, most projects are covered by the environmental document, and when that's all done, we'll come back with how we move forward and implement both residential and commercial projects in the downtown area. Also within the land use area, and I'll have some exhibits up in a second, we've done some conceptual development exhibits showing the potential outcomes of the plan. It includes those that I just mentioned from the workshop 3 of properties along Supply Row, and it also includes some new conceptual graphics showing the overall development massing throughout the project area, showing a lot of 2-story, 3-story development just to show what it would look like from an aerial view. This is the simple multicolored downtown plan, similar to a zoning map. The zones are referred to as commercial, downtown core, downtown transition, light industrial, live work, medium density residential, office medical, and open space. Some of the key ones are on the east end there. The light pink is your office medical, which is all of the mostly West Side Healthcare District properties, because it'll take a while for their full campus plan to develop, but we made sure to accommodate the areas they control. And then the darker purple in the southeast area there include a lot of the existing industrial that occur along Main Street, along with properties that had past commercial or industrial, but shouldn't be future industrial as opposed to residential or commercial on Supply Row as it turns into South Taft there. They're all vacant right now. The Supply Row ones are vacant, but the prior uses have left the soil conditions in a state where it's probably not best to have residential on it. So anything commercial, industrial type uses would be best there on that far east end on the south side of the rails to trails. Here's one exhibit here of the massing I was mentioning. I just pushed our consultants to take all the empty space, particularly along the rails to trails area, and just just inserted 2-story, 3-story uses. You'll see similar blocks of buildings kind of repeated over and over, but what would it look like at a 2- and 3-story scale? And actually from an aerial view, 2- and 3-story still has somewhat of a low and squatted look because it's not a 10-story building, and it doesn't differentiate much from other buildings, but this shows the vacant properties filled in from 10th Street looking eastward towards 6th and 5th Street. These are only conceptual, so anybody who might be watching that maybe owns some of the private properties here that might have something on it, we haven't overridden any ability of your use to use the property. We just wanted to have some visual demonstration of what this plan can produce, and we'll work with each private property owner that comes in. I'll have some more exhibits here that show some of the plaza, paseo, and park spaces where I just kind of let the consultant go on some things. This is, if you recall, this is the workshop 2 and 3 conceptual condo project that they had at the northeast corner of 4th and Supply Row. This one, it's a little tough to see unless you're seeing the full graphic, but in the center left is where we were discussing how some of the parks and open space to connect a development to the trail. There's just an example. A wide grass area could include a playground play space type area that's utilized both by the public and the residents of that development there. This is the higher density apartment development south of Supply Row, directly across from the transit center. The bottom right there is the site plan where this was one conceptual layout where the majority of the buildings are fronted onto Supply with the parking behind it, with only 2 of the apartment buildings in the backside of the development. So the massive parking is more off of Front Street and the numbered street, 4th and 6th, with the buildings all fronting onto Supply Row, so that it's one way to get both those with the transit center right on the street, and you kind of have this corridor between 4th and 6th as one idea to go with some of the residential development down there. But we'll see what comes in, and the city controls that property at the moment, so any developer that comes in, we'll work with them on what concept they want to go with on residential or even commercial, because it does allow some commercial uses there. But we're mostly anticipating a residential use in this location. And again, this is just conceptual. We have no developers at this time looking to build this. And then the remainder of the land use section covers I lost the page. All right, I apologize. I will be having to look at the screen with the rest of my presentation, but the remainder of the chapter covers affordability, the allowable uses, development standards, parking requirements. Oh, thank you. And one thing we did in the parking requirements, which I don't have an example of the table for you, is we did kind of, I guess you could say, kind of shave down or reduce some of the parking requirements, because you could end up with a lot of just seas of asphalt, and it's just a heat island, if you will.
Yeah.
So, and plus it's not a lot taken off, but it's enough where we hope that all these developments can reach their maximum, whether it's a commercial development trying to get that much more square footage, or to get all 100 residential units, whatever it may be. If these slight parking reductions at the beginning don't require some incentive on top of it to just get that part of it. That's what we've done, and the table's in there for everyone to review. But we still have some parking incentives, and then there's the outlined objective design standards in this chapter. Chapter 4 goes more strictly into design standards, the overall design policies, site design, architectural design, building form, parking design, building frontage, streetscape, and landscape design policies. Throughout the document, you see a variety of architectural examples, both existing older downtown areas or adaptive reuse areas similar to ours, with a lot of the brick block facades. This is obviously a newer project, but it has a bit of the combination of masonry with also the newer, more weather-resistant tin siding in the upper floor areas. And this is closest to the example designs that were the townhome and the apartments along Supply Row. So this is a real-world example that takes some of the design cues that are in the document. The design guidelines, if you recall, also set up the site design guidelines, which include streetscape areas, and these would apply to both new projects and any kind of certain retrofit and remodel areas if people want seating and dining areas outside of their establishments. I worked with the project consultant to get our adopted citywide wayfinding and downtown signs in there, so they've cropped it into the plan. I'll be working with the city manager and who's also the public works director to see if we could revive this, work with city council to get these going, because these designs are in place. We found a good sign contractor to produce both the posts that have the pipe fitting look to it, and then the actual sign panels themselves. We had an example, I think, right before the pandemic, and I think half of you saw that. So we'll look to revive at least the directional signs at the top. Chapter 5 covers mobility. This is all things pedestrian, biking, and overall movement through the downtown area, including our transit systems. But I included, oops, got ahead of myself. Let's just skip that. We'll go to the graphic that I included here, which shows a combination of what we call the bulb outs, which shorten the crosswalks and help define some of the street parking areas. We included one of the standalone monument designs in the wayfinding program. We're on the right there, and this is 6th Street looking south at North Street. So the building in the front left area is Jack Leonard's building, if you're familiar with that, at 6th and North. Small commercial office units there. And then Messengers is kind of out of view because we've added some additional landscaping trees on the left side. This is not an adopted street design. This is just to show how, I'm sure you've seen in other cities where the bike lanes are very obvious with the green painting, and depending on what your street section is, it may need to take out parking spaces. So that's something that the city would figure out how to do with that in certain street segments. But there's also, if you've noticed in areas where that doesn't have the obvious green lane, there's the symbol for bike lanes with the chevrons where it's share the lane,
Right.
and the bike will be in traffic. So that's included in this mobility section of the downtown specific plan document. We'll move on to parks and open space. This covers just everything that's beyond the private building space area and some of the transition areas. That's why this really formal term of public realm is everything outside the four walls of the building. So whether it's something that the private developer implements or some of the actual public areas like the trails and streetscape areas. So part of what you saw a glimpse of some of the public space areas in that kind of 3D view. This is a straight aerial view of somewhat of a continuation of the 5th Street Plaza, extending design, landscaping elements all the way from Kern Street down to Front Street. It includes additional kind of plaza areas where it intersects with the trail. And then because there were some comments regarding a container shopping center idea, or if it was an option, or with some areas have seen some success with some pop-up sites. They've utilized trailers, they kind of corral them, and it provides 400 or 500 square feet for fill in the blank. Retail sales, a coffee shop, whatever else they may be selling, or an office location space to meet with someone with whatever their business may be. So the consultant took some liberties and they placed that at the old B of A site. And that's where it's tough to see here when you have the document in front of you, but that whole corner block there has a corral of rectangles which represent the containers that have 3, 4, 5 of those there. And then the next view here, this has a little bit of a better view. I could probably manipulate it if I just opened up the PowerPoint program to zoom in, but the green space in the bottom right there is the Rails to Trails stage, with the Rails to Trails trail itself to the right, and that orange cluster area with the purple trees to the left is the container pop-up plaza area, just as an idea for redeveloping that space. Do you have your orientation right? I see the...
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So it's, again, this is not approved, but this is a way to reimagine certain spaces that are being underutilized or vacated or whatever it may be. So that was one liberty. I just let the consultant go with that. So if the current property owner or somebody else wanted to look at something like that, or if the five of you have an idea for another location for something like that, we could definitely, look at it at areas along rails to trails, because we still have plenty of empty space there as well. I think that might have been a comment from one of the five of you when we were talking about that, or at the workshop. I don't recall, but somebody was thinking about, we have all that space along the trail is kind of an interim site, type of idea, but that's just an idea someone brought up.
I think that was John,
Okay.
and I discussed that, and then.
Well, I think we have some existing spots that we utilize already.
And I think Ed Gaither was talking
I
about
think
that.
Ed Gaither commented with respect to that also. So, this is completely what we have been through in the workshops. This is, there's no variation, no deviation. This is what we all discussed.
Yeah, it's just treading lightly or not so lightly of, can it work at this location? B of A, it's privately owned, we're not dictating it, but if that concept came in, how would it look? What's a spot that could be revitalized in that way? Messengers has an empty space directly north of their property, the open area that was featured as the mechanic shop in the movie. That's not there anymore. That's a spot where maybe, something could be set up as well, similarly to the B of A site.
Yeah.
This one here is, it's a little tough to see, but this is looking northward from, if Fifth Street Plaza continued all the way to the rails to trails, the trail is going east-west in this image, and we're looking northward. If the connecting trail to downtown was bigger, broader, wider, this is what this image is imagining. It's a little tough to see the Pioneer Mercantile because they didn't color it. Where's my cursor? Because the building in the foreground here is a new, just general 3-story residential building.
Yes.
Okay.
The Pioneer Mercantile is kind of hiding behind it, behind these 2 trees here. So that's kind of your reference. And then it's nothing against the Napa store, but if there's a reimagining of, squeezing in some newer retail, expanding that property, that's what this is on the left. This is where Napa is right now, to the left of this plaza. But
Can you move the cursor again, please?
let's see if I can see where it's at. So this white building
Okay.
here to the left is where Napa is.
Yes.
This isn't exactly modeling Napa. I believe they replaced Napa with a bigger building that's multi-tenant, but Napa could still be there.
Sure.
And just have other tenant spaces. And this is if the crosswalk that we installed connects Pioneer down over to the trail. Right now, it's more of just a path. We didn't overly enhance it with trees or lighting. And this is where, I let the consultants just kind of run with it. If a big, broad, the width of Fifth Street continued down past the Napa building, this is what a plaza concept would look like here. But this could be taken, 60 feet wide, 100 feet long. Where else could it fit all the way down to 2nd Street, all the way up to 10th Street, in between private developments, outdoor seating areas as well. So they just utilize this space to demonstrate a plaza, paseo, open space area. So the last 2 sections of infrastructure and the implementation, just keep in mind the specific plan is like a miniature general plan document as well. So it does have to cover some of the basic elements of developing a project. So water supply, wastewater, site drainage and the project area drainage, telecommunications, energy, and public facilities. So it covers all things fire, police, and the like. And even schools, it discusses and identifies the schools in the area. And then the final chapter is Chapter 8 regarding the implementation and administration. It generally covers the environmental review process, so when we complete that, that chapter will be updated with whatever occurred in this month review that we're in. And then it goes over the subsequent development entitlement processes, construction and development permits, ministerial and discretionary reviews. They've created a new review process that's something between just go straight to permit and coming to the five of you. And they, sometimes it's called a zoning administrator, but in this case, they created what's called a director's permit. So something administrative that avoids going to planning commission. And if you look in the zoning ordinance amendments, you'll see some conditional use permit items switch to the acronym DP for director's permit, and also in the residential and commercial sections, you'll see some uses that have been converted there. And there's some in the table that's in land use of the specific plan as well. So director's permit uses in the specific plan and citywide have been implemented, or proposed amendments have been, are in these documents. Then there's areas for covered for minor modifications, substantial conformance, specific plan amendments as the project or area evolves, capital improvement program, and implementation strategy. And I've just included a snippet of the implementation strategy. There's a table at the end of the document that kind of combines all the implementation and administration of it and has some general ideas of responsibility of agency or private development, and then anticipated costs at this time to implement different items. Obviously, this stuff doesn't come in day one. It comes either from conditioning the private development to install it, or it's going to be ongoing public works projects the city puts in. So not to drag this too much further, I'm just generally going over the zoning ordinance amendment, as there really isn't a major highlight in all the changes we're making, but I still recommend you look at the strike through and underline document we've prepared, which is included in all the documents with the secret review and the specific plan. But the we covered chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, 12, and 14. The main chapters, of course, being chapters 4 and 5, which cover the residential zone districts and the commercial zone districts, because with the specific plan, it removes the downtown commercial zone. So that goes away, and the commercial chapter only now has general commercial, where it's just your shopping centers like Albertsons and the gas station, and then a mixed-use zone that is a more generic version of what the specific plan does in a lot of their mixed-use areas. And then chapter 12, as I've highlighted there, is where the ADU section is. We've made some additional revisions there, so take a look at that. And then we did adjust some of the parking regulations, but not as much as we did in the specific plan. The specific plan has requires far fewer spaces, because we are utilizing a lot of those public lots we have. Right. There's some assumption there with that, but on the same idea of it, you know, some of our shopping centers don't utilize certain sections, and even when a fireworks stand is there, there's still a lot of parking left. So shaving it just down, especially if we get more shopping centers and things like that, where there's quite a bit of square footage and they're sharing the huge parking lot, a lot of that ebbs and flows where it doesn't fill up. So those are the main things that are covered in the zoning ordinance amendment. Any questions anybody has on that as well, I'm willing to speak with them. But if there's any recommended changes, I do need that in writing. So I'll conclude with that, and I'll open it up to any questions the five of you have, and I'll do my best to get into details on the project.
I'm a little curious, are we getting any applications in for ADUs? Anyone building them?
Actually, I take it back. I was about to shake my head no. I do have one in right now. It's not quite I don't see it ever moving as quick as just your standalone subdivision, you know, getting 50 new homes a year type of thing. But there is one designer that looks like I don't know where he's getting his connections with, but he's brought in one ADU, and I think he has a couple housing remodels. So somehow it's one particular designer. I won't put his name out there, but I will be offering that to his name to folks who are looking for a architect that is willing to do work out here. That's the toughest thing, is everybody's in Bakersfield, and the distance. shouldn't mean anything, but I think it does a little bit.
Yeah.
But we have a few designers that are doing work out here, and I'm doing what I can to share those with folks that ask. So it's starting to pick up. But prior to that pickup, I think we had all of 3, maybe 4 in the past 5 years or so, and they go straight to permit. There is no review before all of you. They just need to stay under some of those square footage thresholds and things like that. So it's not as busy as solar permits and people doing their re-roofs and all that. But who knows, maybe with some of these changes and with this one particular designer, maybe he gets more and more work as he completes each project. And hopefully if they come out good and, photograph worthy, maybe it's something that will help us be able to promote it when some get built and they look really good.
Yeah, I've thought about it. It's a lot of opportunity for people to build a small unit. A lot of times the kids moving out are trying to transition to their own place, can't really afford their own place, but hey, here, stay out here, give mom and pops a little extra money, or mom, dad, in-laws. It's opportunity for people. They could do it, I wouldn't say on the cheap, but cheaper, and you can get a little revenue in, help subsidize that and pay for itself. And if you got halfway decent yard at all, you can add a little 1-bedroom studio.
An efficiency unit comes in. I mean, I'm doing them in 2-car garages all over LA. I mean, I've done them down there. And it's pretty simple. I mean, it's efficient. And in here, it's affordable by comparison to anything else. I mean, rents in Bakersfield have gotten pretty high. So the affordability factor, that's going to be kind of our bailiwick, I think. So having decent, weather-tight, conditioned space in which to live is what people are looking for.
Yes.
They're tired of the drafty, sinking through the floor stuff.
Please repeat that over and over and over to folks, the whole weather-tight part. That's the forgotten part of energy efficiency with a home is figure out where your drafts are, doors, windows.
And they'll come out and do it for you for free.
Access.
No, they come out and they'll infrared your house.
Yes.
It's a no-brainer. You can do it.
Yeah.
You have to do it. They don't come and just do it for you. You have to request. Now, I think, Mark, that what you've done here is specifically what we set out to do back in the onset. What was that, 18 months ago when we started this?
May of 2020.
Okay, so longer than 18 months, 2 years. But this is the direction that we received from the community and the professionals who advised us. This was the way to go. So, and we had, in my mind, we had significant input in the meetings I attended. There was a cross-section of people there. So this is very good. I'm glad to see it.
And I welcome all comments, even on the basic, spelling, grammar, because we've had the project team is 4 people on the consultant end, and then me, we've been back and forth and trying to catch everything. I welcome that as well. And then also content-wise, anything else you're looking at. The imagery is pretty much fixed as is. I think I've mentioned to one of you, but there will be additional graphics added that look similar to this one. I believe there's 2 or 3 more that could be inserted in. But we wanted to get this out and get it to the state for the environmental review. And then once we get some comments from them, and if it tweaks the narrative of the document, we'll have to shift everything around to make it a complete document. But there may be 1 or 2 more that end up being inserted throughout the land use and design guideline sections.
Yeah, this looks really good. I mean, this is kind of like a wish list of if we could have the perfect scenario, all that'd be filled up, and it give you a broad overview of what could be. Obviously we got a long ways to go, but.
And that was always key, was to make sure both the commission, the council, and those that attended the workshops help provide the bumper guardrails of the bowling lane of what is it you want to see. Yeah, we can say we want everything, but is there some level of specificity, and making sure we're specific enough that the developer looks at our documents and goes, okay, they're actually okay with this and this and this, and we can target after whoever the multifamily developer is condo, apartment, and then single family, small unit, ADUs, all of that. They want some surety, and documents like this helps provide that.
I think your entire package lends itself to people who are landowners taking a different view of what they see in the reality, and looking at this says, oh, this is a what could be, and it, that really is pretty much better. And you can see that it would be more viable and more profitable and uplift the community. So it's all pluses. Any other comments?
I made a promise that I would wait until the next meeting to pull out all the comments. So.
Okay. Kelly?
No.
No?
No, I'm good.
We're all good? Okay, thank you, Mark. That would conclude item 3 and move us toward item 4, which is Mr. Staples' director report.
I have no report for this evening.
Okay. That's reasonable. You did a great job on what you did give us. Thank you. And now that moves us to our favorite part of the evening, Mr. Epperson.
No statement, thank you.
No statement. Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Epperson. That means nobody here is in trouble. That's good. Thank you. Okay, that would move us on to 6, commissioner comments. Want to start with you, Bob?
I have none.
None at this moment.
Okay.
None for me.
None? Jerry? Okay. I want to say that I appreciate the hard work you put into this. I would also like to reiterate what I said last time about 4th of July, that the way that came off on a Saturday was terrific, and people got to celebrate more completely than they otherwise may have been able to. So that was very nice. And the community has a lot going for it. Schools are coming up this month. So as you're heading around town, be mindful that the kids are, once again, unused to going to school, and be careful of them. They're just kids, so be careful. Other than that, thank you for all your good wishes. And I appreciate you all coming here to invest your time. And now we would like to designate our friend, Jerry Livingston, to represent us to the council. Any other volunteers?
Well, thank you.
Jerry's doing a good job.
John will be back up. If you get sick, call John. That's very unlikely. Okay, then that puts us to a point where we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.
It's been moved
And seconded.
and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Great. Thank you. We are concluded.